Hey, Jeff, can you make sure that this episode gets edited? I'm going to be off the grid for a couple of days.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're going to see Fish this weekend. You must be so stoked to go see such a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Yeah, once in a lifetime for the 206th and 207th time?
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. Man, am I excited to have you all here with me as I am each and every week. And to be honest with you, today I am vibrating with love and light. Why? Because we are in the middle of summer. And yes, oh yes, I actually had some time. Take a little time off last week during the Independence Day holiday weekend here that we had in the United States, and also took a few days off this week to go check out, some stuff out there, which I'll share in 1 minute. But before we get into that, if you haven't yet subscribed to our show, what are you thinking? Get on board, people. Go ahead, subscribe on iTunes, on Google Play. Anywhere that you find your podcasts, we are there. You can check out this show. Check out our hotel design show, which this week was with the CEO of Wilson Associates, Beth Campbell. We learn all about what it's like for her becoming a new CEO of one of the largest and most incredible design companies in the world. Of course, we've got Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, which I do with Anthony Melchiori of Hotel Impossible, and lots of other great shows, including the Hotel Tech Podcast, the Business of Hotels Podcast, and others as well. So remember, I'd like for you guys to partner with my great friends over at Almo Hospitality. Why? Because they are your partner to simplify FF&E deployments for the guest room and beyond with industry-leading brands, the latest hospitality trends, and distinctive new-to-market brands, coupled with their specialized business development and hospitality dedicated sales teams. Almo Hospitality Division is, of course, a division of Almo Corporation, the nation's largest independent distributor of professional AV, consumer electronics, major appliances, outdoor furniture, housewares, and much more. Find them at hospitality.almoproav.com. That's hospitality.almoproav.com. There's no www in there, so don't go putting that in. All right, now that we've done the housekeeping, I should say, Almo Hospitality are awesome people. I highly encourage you to partner with them. They've got some great products. I've been showing them off online. Their nonstop collection of alarm clocks, for example, where people could just put their phones down to charge wirelessly. That's really cool. That wasn't in the script, but I wanted you to know about it. Now let me bring in my guest for this half of the show, Mr. Stuart Butler. He's over at Fuel Marketing, and they do an incredible podcast over there on marketing, which I want you guys to check out. And then, of course, we've got, they are just great hotel marketers out there, so I know that you're going to want to learn more about them. And today they've got this great leisure travel research study that they put out every year, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But Stuart, welcome aboard, man.
Hey, Glenn, how are you? It's good to be back on the show.
Yeah, man, I think I'm tired after that 2.5-minute stretch of blah, blah, blahing over there. That was.
I wondered if you forgot I was on the the other end of the line here.
I kind of went into a fugue state where it was just kind of happening, and I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. I was kind of watching myself do all of that, and I was just hoping you were too bored over there on your side of the line.
No, great information. I tell you what, it's been really impressive watching your empire grow over the last couple of years. I think the first time I was on the show, it wasn't long after we'd started our podcast, and you were just doing the single podcast, the No Vacancy podcast, and now you're like everywhere, dude.
Thanks.
You're the poster child for the industry right now, doing a great job on the media side. For sure.
Stuart, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that you say that. Now, I want everybody to know out there that this is the sort of thing that takes a lot of hard work, and I'm not saying this to feel good about myself, but really I want to inspire everybody out there that you can do it if you want it and you put in the hard work. I put in, Stuart, you're no stranger to this. I put in a year and a half of just getting the podcast done every single week before anybody even heard about it in mass, and anybody wanted to put any money behind sponsorship fees for it. So, it takes time. How is it going with you building your audience over at your podcast?
Yeah, it's the same with us. It feels like, everyone says it's an overnight success, but it took several years to get to that overnight success. But we started out getting 10, 20, 30 kind of downloads per episode when we started back.
My first day was 12, I think. And it was very disheartening,
Yeah. But every episode we get more and more, and we just last month, June was our record month. We had tens of thousands of downloads. It was great. So
that's awesome.
We've shifted a lot of our focus to trying to help, not sell to the industry.
Yep.
You know, we have the software and we have the marketing services for independent hotels, and we used to go out there and try to hit people over the head with what we do. But what we found is that the approach of just, hey, genuinely wanting to help people in the industry by offering advice, offering opinions, offering data like we're going to do today has just, it's been tremendous for us as a company to put our name out there in terms of getting new business. It's just been amazing. And it's a lot of fun too. Yeah. Getting to spout your opinion when no one able to argue back to you. This is the best thing.
Podcasting. I know. It's really awesome. It's I love what you're saying. That's really tickling me. But yeah, you know, you're absolutely right. You get your opinions out there, but more important, we get to educate everybody, and that's why over here my mantra is educate, empower, and entertain, because I think that's really the new model of getting people to understand and learn. Right, Stuart?
Yeah, and I think that's really the differentiator between, you know, your show, our show, the ones that have been successful, because a lot of people have kind of dipped their toe into this, you know, medium of podcasting, and they're very monotone, very newsy, and it's just not entertaining. And you really got to think about, well, when are people consuming this? And they have a choice. They're driving their car to work, or they're running, exercising, something like that. I listen to podcasts when I'm cleaning the house, you know, so I have choices, and I want to be entertained while I'm educated.
That's
so I think you know, your show does a great job with your jokes, and we try to be funny on our show, not always successfully, but we try to entertain. So.
Well, we keep trying to make good jokes. It's really tough to conjure up this comedy from the ether over there.
Well, we just embrace it. We own the dad joke on our show. We admit it. You know?
I can't tell you how many horrible things that I say that I think are super clever, and my kids do not appreciate at all.
Yeah.
I feel
like not old enough to appreciate it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Do you feel like we should get like official dad joke license or something like that?
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
I'm like, sorry, I have permission to make these bad jokes to you kids.
That's right.
All right, so you know, you guys are great about helping hotels get people into those hotels. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but you know, Stuart, I every once in a while I like to talk about what's going on in my life this week, and I was at a major casino resort up in Connecticut, going to see a couple of fish shows. I had a good time with my buddies, and we wanted to just hang out for a few days. And, you know, I don't get away enough on vacations. I haven't had a proper vacation in 2 years. So I like every once in a while go away for 2 or 3 nights with the buddies, go see some concerts, have a little fun. And I'm going to do a family vacation at the end of the summer, people. So don't say that I'm not paying enough attention to my family out there, because I will be. But, Stuart, I wanted to bring this up because I find it interesting. I feel like hoteliers are too frequently leaving money on the table. They take all of this effort to get people into the hotels, but I find that once they're there, they're not maximizing opportunity to help people spend at their hotels. Based on your personal experience and perhaps professional insight, are you seeing the same sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I think people believe that once the cash register's rung, you know, once they got the booking, whether it was over the phone or online or a walk-in, their job's done. You know, they're moving on to the next consumer. And our belief here at Fuel is that the best next guest is the one that's currently on property. Right. You have every opportunity, not just to maximize their spend while they're there, but if they have a great experience, they're a lot more likely, one, to come back, but two, to tell other people about the great experience, and that'll drive more people. And, you know, the next best guest after your current guest is people that look a lot like the current guest.
Right.
So it's all about the experience. That you should be focused on the marketing side of having people on property just as much as you do marketing online or in print or wherever else. So 100% agree that there's a huge missed opportunity. And one of the things that we point out to people is it can be win-win, because if you offer amenities to them, and maybe there is a cost to some of those amenities, you can not only drive revenue, but you can increase the guest satisfaction at the same time, which is great for everyone, because then you get better reviews and you can drive a higher ADR next time. But you know, just simple things like in the study that we're going to talk about in a second, one of the things we asked was, would you be willing to pay for a late checkout? Would you be willing to buy additional add-ons and services during your stay via a mobile app? And 2/3 of people said yes. Yes, we want this. So it's a huge missed opportunity.
Huge missed opportunity. So we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes as soon as I finish bitching and complaining about this issue that I see out there. And I don't mean to insult this particular property that I was at, but what I do want to do is draw attention to the fact that sometimes operational teams need to be a little bit more on page with each other to understand if something is happening in area A of the hotel, it will have a direct effect to area B of the hotel. So now in this particular instance, we're at these two concerts at Mohegan Sun, and everybody, 10,000 people in the arena, which for Fisho's is a super small arena, great place to go see a concert. Every seat in the house is awesome, and I say that as a guy who had the two worst seats in the house, one for each night, so I was pretty happy overall. But you got 10,000 people pouring out of the casino, and this is one of the largest casino resorts in the entire planet, and they only have 3 eateries open. 10,000 people, 3 eateries open, and one of them closed at midnight and didn't even have an opportunity to do sales. So if you're running an operation, and I don't know this resort probably has third-party operators, I know that's for sure, but why on earth would you close your premier pizza joint at midnight as 10,000 hungry people that may or may not have the munchies wanting to come and eat your pizza? How much is it going to cost for you to keep people on board for another hour, an hour and a half? Make all of those profits. And additionally, Stuart, I saw the same thing over and over and over throughout this place. Closed, 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 closed. Everybody wanted to eat. The lines were insane. I found the Asian gaming area. It took me 10 minutes to order. That part wasn't a big deal. But they were so disorganized because they didn't expect to be in the weeds. It took 45 minutes for me to get the food. So by the time I was eating, it was 2:15 in the morning and I almost passed out in my noodle soup. It was so ridiculous, right? Now, now I want to add to this that at my old job, my old company that I worked for, we would put on these events 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a year, Stuart, and we would in the pre-meeting say, don't close your bars at 11. Don't close them at 12. People are going to be drinking. You're going to be making a lot of money. And 9 times out of 10, they still close those bars early. What is it with hoteliers not looking at this opportunity to pay people for a little bit of time to stick around so you can make a whole lot more money? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think a lot of people are beginning to misspell hospitality, and they're spelling it as hostility. Because they're forgetting that we are in the hospitality business. We should be welcoming guests, making them feel warm, serving their needs. And too many people are running these operations like whether it's a real estate investment or whatever, but they're losing sight of the thing that is at the core of everything we should be doing, which is the guest satisfaction and the guest experience. So just having a little common sense there. Don't just be rigid with your operations. And really, I think that's got to fall on whoever's handling, whether that's the GM or whoever's heading operations or whoever's over F&B for that property. But they just got to apply a little bit of, let's take a look at the calendar. Let's figure out when there's going to be these peaks in demand, and let's be flexible with it.
Right.
Flexibility is the key to hospitality.
Right.
Sounds like these guys missed a huge opportunity.
I think of the thousands of dollars that each individual food outlet probably missed out on. But I do want you all to know that there is a happy ending to this story. On night 2, I got a buddy. He's a dude that always gets things done, right? I'm really good at the planning this stuff, but he's good at getting stuff done. So he went over to this pizza joint the next day, and he figured out that we could place an order before we went into the concert for pickup at 11:55 p.m. So,
that's smart. What you should have done is ordered like 50 pizzas. You could have made a bunch of.
God, Stuart, where were you? That would have been such a great idea. We are so
missed opportunity.
Stupid. So stupid. But anyway, the good news is the show was still going on. I got to hear the entire encore. My buddy went, got the pizzas. End of story. By 12:07, I was eating pizza. I was a happy guy, and we even managed to get to sleep a little bit earlier. Plus,
you're lucky you got out of there alive, really.
Yeah, very true. All right. So, I don't mean to be complaining about all this, but again, I just want to underscore to everybody out there that there may be opportunities right under your nose at your property to make more money. You just need to be open to seeing these things that might have been invisible to you. Get out of your head. and take a couple of days away from thinking about all that and try to revisit everything with a fresh set of eyes, and you might just find ways to improve your operations. Now, Stuart, I think it's time we got to talk about your study. I feel like I'm just going to be making too many complaints otherwise. I want to focus on something real positive. Now, each and every year, you put out a leisure travel trends study over at Fuel. So you got the brand new one out. I want to talk about some of the highlights. I think I'll just kick it to you to tell me a little bit about what the big things are that you saw and what you're most excited about in regards to the insight that you gleaned from this survey.
Yeah, it's really cool. We've been doing this for about 5 years now, and seeing the data shift over time. There's a lot of trends that reinforce what we all talk about and think about. So I can kind of hit some of those. So this study, if people want to download it, they can get it at fueltravel.com/study and download a PDF. We also gave it out at High Tech.
I will put this in the show notes as well, but give us again where to find it.
Yeah, fueltravel.com/study is the place to download it. And,
great. I'm just thinking about the people walking their dog. I want them to, have an opportunity to remember. Go on, please.
Exactly. So, we gave out printed copies at High Tech too and got a lot of really good feedback. So we asked people, what would their big standout data points from it. So we ask everything from why do you travel? How do you do your research? How do you book? What devices do you use? And this is a self-reporting study. About 2,000 North American leisure travelers were the people that responded to the self-reporting survey. So I'll give you some highlights. And these are impactful things, right? So let's look at this. This is, I'm going to start with probably the biggest stat, and that might be a mistake because it might take up the rest of the show.
Right?
But 80.
If not, I could just go back to complaining about not having access to pizza.
There you go. 86.7. So almost 90% of all travelers, regardless of how they ended up booking, regardless of how they started their research, 86.7% of people did visit the hotel website prior to making that booking. Yeah. So the overwhelming vast majority of people do visit the hotel website. So we, as an industry, have this massive opportunity that we're missing out on right now in terms of, guests are savvy enough. They're doing their research. They're comparing rates between your own site and the OTAs. So why are they then going to the OTA to book in droves? You're not making it easy for them to make the booking on your website. So that's really encouraging.
Yeah,
but at
what
the
is
same
the
time,
problem then that they could solve? How can you make it easier to book on your website?
Well, to me, and we use the F word a lot at Fuel, we use the friction word, and that to us is the biggest problem, right? So if you look at OTAs, they do a really good job of reducing the friction to purchase. And there's two ways they do that. One, that they get rid of hurdles. They make it as few clicks as possible. They'll pre-populate data. They'll give you payment options that you don't have to put in credit cards. So they do a really good job with the user interface. And along that line, they also answer questions. So any potential roadblock, like what if I want to cancel? Well, there's big, bold writing there that says free cancellations. Or, man, I wish I knew more about this. And there's icons that say this has free Wi-Fi and free breakfast. So they do a really good job of anticipating what the guest is thinking and answering it before they even formulate a question. And then the third thing they do, which is amazing, and I'm shocked that more hotels don't do this, is they apply age-old psychology tactics. So things like social proof, where they say 10,000 people have booked this room in the last 12 hours, right? So
the Delta does that to me all the time with they're trying to get me to buy their trip insurance.
Exactly. And if they say, the majority of people do this, you're obviously dumb if you don't.
Right. Except that last part's left off.
It's implied. Though.
Right, yes. It implies stupidity. I like that.
Yeah, but we as humans, we tend to behave the way we've observed other people behave. So when you see that other people have done it, then that's kind of a psychology hack.
Right. It's the same thing when I'm at the movie theater and there's 10 snack bar lines. I always go to the one furthest to the left because that's the least attended side. Everyone seems to go to the middle or to the right? Because people flock to where other people go.
Yeah. And then the other psychology hack they use is fear of missing out or urgency. So they'll put, like booking.com does a great job because they have like 10 different swipes at you with fear of missing out. So if you do a search for a destination at the very top, it'll say, oh, this entire destination is 97% filled for your dates. I mean, you're potentially not going to be able to stay in this city unless you hurry up and book. And then below that, they'll show, hey, this hotel actually just sold out, so you can't even have this one. You're totally screwed. And then right below that, they're like, but this one's pretty good too, and there's only one room left.
Yeah,
so don't forget to book it right now.
And that's the great part where they say only a few rooms left, one room left. I mean, that really is a call to action that gets under my skin, even though I am supposed to know better.
Yeah, it gets you every time.
Every time.
You know what's funny? I don't know if they still do this. TripAdvisor used to do this thing where you could kind of look and say, if I search for one room, and it would show a property and say only one room left. But then if I search for two rooms, it would say only two rooms left. So there definitely at some point there was some manipulation of the truth going on there a little bit. I don't know if they still do that, but yeah.
Yeah, and just to be fair, the folks at Fuel Marketing always represent everything accurately.
Yeah, we encourage our clients to do that. Ultimately, it's their decision, but we definitely try to. What we've done, we kind of have pivoted a little bit. So Fuel has traditionally been an agency that had software, marketing, customer-facing software, but we've really, over the last 6 months, become more focused on the software side because we really think we can help solve this problem and a lot of others. So we've baked a lot of these features into our booking engine technology. So the Fuel booking engine now has all these secret hacks, psychology hacks that the OTAs has. We've learned a lot of things from the OTAs in terms of how to make a better user interface and a guest experience for booking. So we've actually got about 40 properties now that have hit the second mobile tipping point where they've getting, a lot of hotels in the industry have had 60% plus traffic on mobile for a while, but less than 40% of bookings. And so they hit the first tipping point of traffic, but why was the booking lagging behind? And we've actually think we've solved that problem to a large degree for a lot of our clients with high repeat guests and reducing friction, making it easy, applying psychology. And we've got 40 properties now that get more bookings from mobile than they do for desktop, which we haven't seen any other properties. Certainly on the big booking engines like the Synexis or the iHoteliers of the world, none of those guys are seeing more bookings coming from mobile than they are from desktop. So it is possible, but it requires some effort.
Right, and we are moving in that direction, people, so you should be putting the effort now. And I think we don't want you to leave money on the table, and I think hoteliers doing it. That's not your fault. You just don't know, and that's why we're trying to teach you right now. Here's something that really surprised me. I mean, to be fair, you gave me some standout stats from the study. 68.6% don't want voice assistant smart speakers in their hotel room.
Yep.
What's the psychology behind that, in your opinion? I have a guess, but you're the expert. Share
so that was kind of part of a series of questions about voice technology. So we asked people, one, do they have a smart speaker in their home, like an Amazon Echo or Google Home? And it was about 30% of people did. And we saw it skew younger. So if you were under 35, you're a lot more likely to have that than if you were over 35. But then we got to the question about, and we also asked how they used it. So what were they doing with it? Were they playing music, consuming media? Were they setting timers? But then this one really surprised me. And we kind of followed up with some people afterwards and just asked them, so what's the rationale behind not wanting to have a speaker? And it all came down to privacy and a distrust of the property managing that device correctly. So even if it's switched off, which I think a handful of folks do have them, there's a couple of Marriott brands that are testing it. When you go in the room, it's actually deactivated. But even then, a lot of properties are still getting complaints from it or being asked to remove it from the room. So to me, I think at some point, the fear may go away. But for right now, why would you alienate 2/3 of your guests by forcing it? I mean, if you want to engage in that technology, then maybe it's an option at booking or at check-in. Would you like to take an Echo to your room? We have these devices available. But make it something that they opt into, not opt out of. Because you're obviously going to annoy people according to the study data.
Right. And I think part of that has to do with 68.6% of people not understanding that there's now solutions out there that could create a higher level of privacy. And I don't mean to give a shameless plug, but I'm going to do anyway for the good folks at Almo. They work with a partner called Circ Plus, which does voice assistance, but everything is very focused on making sure it's privacy and you get to keep the integrity of your data safe that way.
Yeah.
So I think as people learn a little bit more and there's more methodologies that are put in to keep data safe, and we see less stories in the news about, Google and Echo listening to every word you're saying and recording it, then I think this will change. But for right now, I kind of think it's a little bit of a standoff between what consumers want and what hoteliers are offering to give.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree. I think it will change over time, especially as more people get these devices in their home and get more comfortable using voice as the primary method of interacting with technology, which I think is the direction we're heading.
Yeah.
I think these things have changed. But I think a lot of it's misplaced fear right now because we're all essentially carrying around a device that listens to us all the time in our pocket anyway.
Right.
And people don't really think about that the same risk exists with your phone that exists with a smart speaker. So I think it's going to take some education from a lot of folks and some time. And as the younger generations get older, I think that'll make a difference too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Part of it has to do with older folks just not wanting to deal with older technology. And I've given this explanation before, so forgive me if you've heard it. But like my parents, they couldn't handle. My grandparents couldn't handle answering machines. Right? It was just too much for them to deal with. My mom and dad, they couldn't handle setting the time on the VCR. So older people appreciate the 12 o'clock blinking that was always on there because you had to manually set the time. And in my generation, at my age, there's certain technologies that are just, I just don't want to deal with. And I realize it's not that we're not smart enough. It's just that we don't have the inclination to want to go through the effort to learn how to do it. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And so that's kind of.
It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
That's right. Yes, right. Because I realize that an old dog like me I just don't want to be bothered. I have better things that I think is better that I'd rather be doing.
That's right. What's wrong with flipping a switch to turn on a light?
Right.
Why do I need to use my voice?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So here's something that's interesting to me that I think really dovetails nicely with the emphasis that we're seeing that all the major hotel companies in the last couple of years seem to be focusing more on the entire idea of the customer journey, being where the customer is at the beginning of that thought, hey, I want to go on vacation, all the way through the planning, the booking, the stay, and the execution of what that experience was like afterwards. Now, you said here, leisure vacation planning is 26 days it takes to plan. Now, I've been planning one for 137 days and have gotten nowhere, but I'm curious as to know why you feel 26 days, what does that mean to you? What insight do you pull out of that? How can hoteliers leverage that to their best opportunity?
Right. So there's a couple of factors here. So to clarify, the people we were asking, we asked to qualify that they'd had a vacation of at least 5 days in the last 3 years.
Right.
So these are not, weekend trips, because obviously the average time spent planning a weekend trip is going to be less than a 5+ day vacation. But we've seen that number be fairly consistent over the last 5 years. So it's been fluctuating around, 4 weeks, a month-ish from the point they first start being inspired to travel and go online and hit it, search on Google or an OTA to when they actually make the transaction. Mm-hmm. So, what this tells me is that you have time to get in front of them, with different ad approaches. And, obviously you should always be everywhere your brand is, because that's what the OTAs do really well. If someone's on TripAdvisor, you've got Trip Connect and instant booking there, and you've got the ads at the top now as well. You've got on Google. It's amazing if you look at the evolution of Google search results. Right. The first organic listing used to be about 300 pixels from the top of the screen. Now it's about 900 pixels from the top of the screen, and everything above it is all paid advertising, whether that's Google ads or Google hotel ads. So you have to, as a hotelier, be in all those places. But I think what we encourage our clients to do, and what's most impactful, because you do have 26 days, is really try to retarget people. So do everything you can to capture information about them or identify the person when they do visit your website, because again, 87% of people are visiting your hotel website at some point in those 26 days. So making sure you can then put out custom ads, whether that's dynamic ads for travel on Facebook, or whether that's custom remarketing lists for search ads on Google, whether that's your emails going out top of mind with shopping cart abandonment emails, that kind of stuff. Right. But you have a little bit of time to do a full court press on these guests and stay top of mind. And more importantly, sell the value proposition of not just why to book your property, but why to book your property on the property website. Offer incentive, offer value. Tell them in plain, simple, bulleted, bite-sized pieces why this property is great and why they should book direct.
Could you give me an example of a good bite-sized piece?
Yeah, I mean, it can be simple, right? So if you go to Priceline, they do a really, really good job. I was looking at them the other day with a client at how they present the property information versus the property site. And I was trying to convince the hotel that Priceline was actually doing a better job than they were in terms of telling people. So one of the things they have, and I was looking at a property in Charleston, South Carolina, when you clicked on it, it said 4 reasons to book. And the 4 things were extra savings, so it was selling what discount you were getting. Right. Free cancellations, so they're eliminating fear, and it has a description under all these. Guests love it, and then they had like some of the review snippets and things like that, and then top rated in the location as well. So it was just bulleted points. And when you think about mobile, because more and more people are doing research on mobile, it's everything goes quicker on mobile. You're distracted by a million things. You're competing against messages coming in. So you've got to get people through that conversion funnel really quickly, a lot quicker than you do on desktop, because they're less distracted on desktop. So having these bulleted things, and it could be free cancellation, free breakfast, fast Wi-Fi. But the thing I recommend to a lot of folks is go talk to your guests and have a conversation surrounded around what was it that appealed to them about booking direct? Great. Why did they choose the property? Why did they book on the hotel website? Right. Once you can extract that knowledge from the guests, then you can get some crafty marketer to come up with some good copy and bullet points on the website. But it's got to be front and center on every page, on the homepage, and throughout the booking process.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Stuart. And general managers, you should be at that breakfast area talking to your people. If you can't be there, whoever's in charge of the breakfast area should be walking around asking those very specific questions. And in the evening, that falls to any folks that are serving drinks, because these are 2 groups of people that you have their attention and are willing to be open and talk with you and give you some answers to help you improve your businesses there. So this doesn't surprise me. 79% read reviews prior to booking, and 95.1% trust reviews on the hotel's own website. That number surprises me, because I would have thought psychologically people would more discount reviews that are on the place that's being sold than in a neutral third-party location.
Yeah, and we've seen that number kind of steady too over the last 5 years. So we asked them to compare, TripAdvisor, Yelp, online travel agents, the hotel website, and there's a couple of others on there, and how much they trust it. And it's a scale of 1 to 5, essentially, and it goes from distrust, completely distrust, mildly distrust, trust, a lot of trust, and completely trust. Right. So we're scaling this on the top 3. So people that say trust, really trust, or completely trust, essentially. And that captures a lot of people. It captures 95.1% of people are saying, why would I distrust this any more than any others? Now, we do see like TripAdvisor skews a little higher in terms of the 1s and 2s. But if you combine 1, 2, and 3 together, they're really very similar. There's not a big difference. Right. So we encourage people, if we know that 80% of people are going to look at reviews prior to booking. So this goes back to the first point, right? Where we've got them on the website. Over 86% of people are on your website. Why do you, if you know they want to look at reviews, why are you forcing them to leave your website, go to TripAdvisor, go to Google, wherever it is, and again get exposed to competition, to OTAs, to all these other options, when you can keep them on your website just by showing reviews on your website.
Right.
So that it's to me, it's a no-brainer. In how you get reviews there, whether you're pulling in that top 5 feed from TripAdvisor or you're just using your website content management system and populating snippets that guests have told you, I don't think it really matters. I just think you have to be genuine and authentic, because the worst thing you can do is set an expectation that's unrealistic and to tell everyone that this is the best, cleanest, brightest, cheapest property in the world and everyone should stay here, and then they get there and it's dirty and overpriced and hidden fees and all these things, because that's going to backfire long term. So never sacrifice the long term just for short term gain, but just by putting authentic reviews on your hotel website, you're going to see an increase in conversion rate.
Beautiful. I think that's a great advice. And real quickly, the last observation that came out of this survey that I thought was super interesting, although there's tons of great information that we're not discussing on this call, so I highly encourage you guys to get the free copy of this particular study. All right, so 35% of people will visit a hotel's Facebook page prior to booking versus Instagram at 12%. I would have thought with how Instagram has really taken off, and to me, it's much more of a positive place to swim in compared to what's been going on in Facebook. I would have thought the numbers might have been opposite. Though, thinking about me as an older guy, I rarely think about hotels on Instagram. I usually check stuff out on Facebook, so I guess it makes sense, but doesn't make sense. How do you see it?
Yeah, and we see this number again. It skews age-wise, so we definitely see under 35s tend to use Instagram more, but they're still not more than Facebook. So Facebook across all age ranges was more visited before booking than Instagram. Right. So I think that there's a couple of things at play here. I mean, one, I think more properties do have Facebook pages than they have Instagram feeds, and the quality tends to be better as well. But we as an industry tend to overemphasize the new and the bright and shiny, which obviously Instagram is versus Facebook. And sometimes that's at the expense of what's tried and true and work. So I definitely think, to me, this says definitely make sure you have a great Facebook presence and that you're responding to questions first. Do that right before you jump into Instagram. But that Instagram number has grown over the last few years and will continue to grow, especially, again, younger people tend to use Instagram more than they use Facebook. So I think Instagram is going to become more and more important. But if you have limited resources today, I wouldn't even mess with Instagram. I would make sure I'm doing a great job on Facebook first.
All right, beautiful. Great advice. Okay, so once again, it's the 2019 Leisure Travel Trend Study. Available at fueltravel.com / what was the / again?
/study.
I should have remembered that. Easy enough. Fueltravel.com /study. Again, we'll put that into the show notes. Stuart, this has been a great conversation, and you have earned the right for a great shameless plug. Now we sound like the chicken wing guy host. All right, so go ahead and give us your plug.
Cool. Well, thanks, Glenn. I appreciate you having me on the show again. You can check us out. Our mothership is fueltravel.com, the website. There you can learn about all our products and services. So we have a really cool mobile-friendly booking engine. We have a AI-powered CRM that's doing a lot of fun stuff. And we have a really cool custom mobile app. So if you're interested in any of those technology categories, you can just reach out to us on the website, fueltravel.com, or you can just email me, Stuart@fueltravel.com. And you can spell that either way, even though my name is spelled UART. So many people spelled it wrong over the years that I just set up a redirect. So Stuart@fueltravel.com. And then if you want to hear more of our witty banter, then the best place to do that is fueltravel.com /podcast. In that each week we give out great marketing advice for hoteliers to drive more direct bookings, and we try to entertain along the way. So that's fueltravel.com /podcast or wherever you subscribe or listen to podcasts.
Great. Well, check that all out, everybody. Stuart, thanks for being here, and more importantly, thanks for those great plugs. I think they're really helpful and really well executed. So I like that. All right, I want to thank everybody for listening today. Stick around because after this break, we've got another great interview. I think you're going to like this one. We've talked with Roger Bloss before, all about his newest venture into COACHILLIN Resorts. So we're going to talk with him And mostly, we're talking with the guy who's got all of the money in this, so we're going to see why he likes it, why this cannabis industry is really looking to take off, and how they plan to be successful hoteliers in this realm. Lots to learn, lots of interesting stuff. Really cool talking to Stuart over at Fuel Travel. Be sure to check them out, and we'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. So get this! Recently, NBC's Today Show came out with a list of the 10 best hotels in the world, and my incredible friends over at Red Roof made that list. They've also been voted best budget hotel brand by USA Today readers 3 of the past 5 years. Wow! And according to Medallia, they've ranked #1 in online reviews for 9 years running. What's more, Red Roof consistently offers one of the highest RevPARs in the economy segment. You know why? Because they're careful to make sure standards reflect guest expectations, are fully tested, and also well priced. In fact, listen to this. They operate over 100 properties themselves, so they understand their franchisees' perspective. I feel like this is where I need to pull out the "they've got skin in the game" line, right? So then there's also the brand extension they've created in the upscale economy market. Red Roof Plus properties feature wood-like flooring, high-end bedding, spa-inspired baths, enhanced landscaping, and more, all based on consumer research. And plus, the first time I saw this room when they debuted it a number of years ago, I was blown away. I couldn't believe I was looking at a budget-branded property. So awesome. Such great customer impact. And listen to this. All Red Roof offerings come with Ready Rewards, the richest in-class loyalty program with more than 3 million members. And that just happens to be the least expensive loyalty program on the market for owners like you. Put it all together, there's no surprise Red Roof has a franchisee satisfaction rate of 86%. And those franchisees, they're going to tell you genuine relationships, real results. It isn't just some slogan. It's truly how Red Roof does business. To learn more, visit redrooffranchising.com or call 888-473-8861. That's 888-473-8861. Tell them Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. So, alright, you already know I had on, when I were at the AHOA conference in San Diego, I had Roger Bloss back on the show to talk about COACHILLIN and all the fun things he's doing in the cannabis universe. But you know what? I'm loving this so much that I couldn't help myself. So, not only do I have Mr. Roger Bloss back with us today, but I have Mr. Kenny Dickerson, founder and managing member of COACHILLIN. It's fun to be able to talk to somebody new today. Kenny, how are you, man?
I'm great. This is fun to be here.
Yeah, it's super fun to be here. Although I've been in Vegas now for 3 days, so everything you're hearing right now on the microphone, everybody, is just made up. I'm really in a coma right now, so I don't know how I'm surviving.
And broke,
right? Yeah,
broke and got the Vegas flu.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. So, for those of you that didn't listen to the episode a few weeks ago, I highly encourage you to go check it out. We did live streaming, so you can find that on our Facebook page. You can find that on novacancynews.com. And we really got into the specifics of what these resorts are going to be like. And although we might touch on some of that today, I think I'd like to have a broader conversation about cannabis culture in the United States, how you folks see yourselves fitting into it, and overall, what your plans are to dominate the cannabis universe. So, Kenny, I think the best place to start is with you, sir. So I understand that you seem to be a highly unusual fella to get involved in the cannabis culture world, simply because it was just not something that even entered your mind.
No, it wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about cannabis for 35 years. The last time I smoked it in college.
Right.
And
yeah, that's what I tell people too.
And what happened was it was Friday night.
Right.
I'm the only guy in the office. It's 7:30 at night. And I receive a call.
Right.
And this is 2 weeks after a city of Desert Hot Springs became the first city in Southern California to pass a cannabis cultivation ordinance. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a builder. My company is EcoMaster Corporation. We build net zero buildings. all for our own account.
Okay.
So
in case people don't understand, could you explain what net zero buildings mean?
Basically, we're trying to build a building that has a zero carbon footprint. That all the energy that the building uses is generated on site, and it's in a clean eco environment. If you will. That's the name.
And there's even and there's also these really cool products out there. Porcelanosa does Creon, for example, which is a material that actually sucks out the bad stuff from the air and replaces it with great stuff. So I think that's awesome that you were involved in that type of business. And it sounds to me you were probably in it before it became en vogue.
Well, I don't know. We're kind of doing what everybody didn't want to do.
Right.
We're a small mom and pop general contracting firm. My father started 45 years ago, and we got in it because none of the big builders like to build specialty medical buildings. By specialty medical buildings, I mean we'll do an oncology building with all the disciplines associated with cancer care. I'll build a nuclear bunker. I'll house a linear accelerator in that nuclear bunker. We'll have the radiologist, zapping the cancer cells, and then all the other disciplines with oncology. That's the kind of building we build. They tend to be small tenant finish improvements, small buildings. So the big boys never wanted to get into that. We love them because doctors are great tenants. They always pay their bills. They pay their bills on time, and they're there forever. So
that's a really good point.
So that's what we did. Well,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just think about the pediatrician I went to on Long Island. They're still in that same building.
30 years later.
40.
They're great tenants. And then, so I wouldn't be the builder you would call. If you wanted to build a cannabis cultivation facility, I'm not the guy. Because A, I don't build for other people, and B, I'm just not in that arena. Mm-hmm. So DHS passes this ordinance, right? So I start getting telephone calls. Hey, Mr. Dickerson, you ever built a 50,000 square foot pot facility?
Right.
And you got to understand, for 15 years, I haven't received 15 telephone calls. Now I'm getting 3 and 4 a day.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And so I thought it was friends of mine, some buddies of mine, just screwing with me, right? And
what's it like having friends?
Screwing with you all the time. Exactly. So it's Friday night. It's 7:30. I get this telephone call from a guy in Manhattan, pushy New Yorker. And
are you insulting me now?
Yes. No, just a little bit. That's right. Just trying, just a little bit. And so, so he asked me, Mr. Dickerson, have you ever built a 250,000 square foot cannabis cultivation facility or any cut flower facility of any kind, before? And I'm like, no, that's not what we do. Thanks for calling. Mm-hmm. I wish you the best, right? And he wouldn't. This is why I say pushy. He just would not let me get off the phone. Mm-hmm. And finally, again, I preface this. It's Friday night. It's 7:30. I'm probably one scotch in, and I'm a little tired, a little grumpy. I should be home with my wife.
Right, so I'm going to do the math. 1 scotch, 4 scotches.
So finally it gets to the point I'm trying to get the guy off the phone, and he won't stop. And and finally I go, isn't that the kind of crap that people go to jail for? And thinking I'll shock him off the phone and I'll finally get rid of it because it's Mr. Dickerson. Mr. Dickerson, are you in front of a computer? I'd like you to Google me so you know who you're talking to. And I think, I'll humor the guy, right? Turns out he's the CEO of a company that has a $32 billion market cap.
Whoa.
He's in Manhattan at 10:30 at night on a Friday night, calling a builder he does not know in California, trying to find somebody to build a facility he's going to build in my backyard there. Well, that was the game changer for me. My eyes opened up. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm not only am I getting calls every day out of the blue, but I got a real guy, real company calling, wanting to build a $100 million facility.
Wow.
In my backyard. And so I call my son, who's 4 years out of UCLA, and he's working in the tech world in San Francisco, and he's a super bright kid. Michael, what's going on? Mm-hmm. I mean, your old man's getting all these calls, all these pot calls out of the blue because Desert Hot Springs, I guess, has passed this ordinance. And so he gives me the speech. Okay, Pop, sit down.
Uh-oh.
This is what cannabis was 35 years ago when you were in school. This is what cannabis is today. And then, more importantly, this is what it's going to be in the future.
Right.
And then he started connecting me with some doctors and some research teams in Israel and all over the world, so that I would, because I was calling bullshit. I smoked pot 35 years ago. I know what it did to me, right?
That wasn't even good back then.
It was a lot of seeds and a lot of leaves, right?
I've heard stories. I've heard stories about, people in like the 90s and stuff like that, getting a bag and then having to sit down and split the stems and seeds and all of that. The kids these days, they have it lucky. They don't understand what we went through. Oh, wait, did I say me?
Or what people went through.
Yeah, right.
I think there was a song, No Stems, No Seeds.
Right.
Back in the day.
yes. The thing that I'm taking away so far most from this conversation is I can't believe Roger has not spoken in 7 minutes until just now.
I love the story.
Yeah, that's the longest I've ever been with you in a room where you haven't communicated with me.
So to finish, so Michael says, I go, Michael, I got the opportunity. I was asked to be a funding arm of this project down here. It's a big project, and they want to do a cannabis cultivation industrial park. And I said, just to plant a seed. Now, this is my super bright. 4 years out of UC.
Seed? What kind of seed do you want to?
This is a seed to see if I can lure my son back to work for me. And I go, Michael, how would you feel about coming back and helping me run this if I do this project? Because it's going to be a 10-year project. It's huge. At this stage of my life, I don't have the energy to start a project of that kind of magnitude or the desire. I'd rather be fishing in Costa Rica.
Right.
And
that sounds like a great idea.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Also, the name of, I think, a great 90s band.
Fishing in Costa Rica, baby. And so, without hesitation, he says, "Oh, yeah, Dad, I'll do it." Which shocks me. I mean, this is a kid who's living the dream, living in Atherton, in a big house, working for a consulting firm that only consults to Fortune 50s.
Wow.
His Rolodex is CIOs and CTOs of the Googles, the Amazons, those kind of guys. And he tells the old man, "Hey, Dad, I'll do it." So now my jaw's on the floor. I'm going, what am I missing? What am I doing? So long and short of it, we buy the project. It's 160 acres. And so I start laying out lots to sell. And they sell so fast, so early, that I'm forced to do the entire 160-acre project in a single phase.
Instead of over 10 years.
Yeah, instead of over 10, single phase. Well, all my big developer buddies who I haven't developed a project over 12 acres, and 6 homes at a time or 5 homes at that's not 43 lots and 4 million square feet of total build out.
Wow.
And infrastructure that includes RO water distributed to every parcel in the park, ag water distributed, hot water, cold water, CO2. We're an industrial architecture or a agricultural industrial park.
Right.
There's no such animal out there.
Right.
Nobody,
and it's all indoors.
And then we built a $2 million wall around it, hired security. There are ex-vets. Our security employees we're already up to 48 employees in 2 years.
Wow.
And just exploding. Well, what I learned in the process was the entire industry is without ancillary support. Because the barriers to entry are difficult. Nobody wants to bank with somebody
that's
who's
the first thing
touching
that comes
the
out.
plant.
I mean, you have to deal in all cash.
Yeah, which is difficult.
It's absurd.
Yeah. So, and you can't develop an industrial park. I can't go out in this park and develop it without having the money to develop it, because no bank will loan you any money on your infrastructure.
Could you just tell them you're going to grow soybeans or something?
Yeah, no, we don't do that. We tell it like it is.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the long and the short of it is that's where we are. That's where COACHILLIN was born.
Right. It seems like we're at a cultural nexus right now where 5 years ago, I think we had these problems with the banking and stuff, but I feel like the tide is turning. Not only is the majority of the population for nationwide legalization, or at least taking it off as a type 1, right, Schedule 1 controlled substance, right. Sorry, I was getting confused with my diabetes or something like that there. But I feel as if soon we're going to be able to, it's going to be in the mainstream. It's going to be legit. I've always looked at it in the same way as the casino business, right? It was a sin. It was a sin. It was a sin. Oh, this is a valuable business? Hey, let's do it everywhere, right? And it rolled across the country in like 10 years. And I think we're just about to see that happen here in the United States. I have a feeling you're feeling kind of the same way.
Agreed. I would expect a federal legalization within the next 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, so Roger, I'd love to hear a little bit from you. How did you guys meet? How did this all come together for you?
You know, that's the strangest part of it all is because there's no way on earth the two of us should have ever met.
Right.
But as you know, as we talked last time, and just for your audience a little bit, after I exited the Vantage hotel business and sold my company to Red Lion, I also was deciding, you know, you get to that age and you go, what do I do now? I can't fish every day and can't play golf every day, and we all love the challenge. And
you could do one day and one the next.
Yeah,
day,
but you know, they run into each other, and because of my history in using cannabis and having such positive effects.
And please check out that podcast because you understand how Roger was introduced to it from a strictly medical. point of view.
It was all about health and wellness for me. So actually, living in Las Vegas. Saw what was going on in cannabis, and I met a group of young people that just really excited me. And they had focused on not only just cannabis, but, the hemp side of it, the CBD side of it. And that's really what it was for health reasons for us. And so we were looking for this really obviously a great project where we were going to launch these cannabis hotels around the country. And through a company that I'm affiliated with, MJ Holdings, they had a relationship with Kenny, and they said, why don't you two meet? And instantly, it's one of those things, Glenn, you and I know that we talk about it all the time. Sometimes you shake a guy's hand or a lady's hand and you go, that's probably not going to work out. Or you shake their hand and you go,
totally.
You know what? This might be okay. Yeah. And the body chemistry's kind of went, and Kenny and I started, just talking about things, and we had a lot of the same values, and we come from different backgrounds. Like you said, he never thought of building this. I never thought about being cannabis.
Right.
But taking what I love to do in the hotel industry and taking something that, like you said, the next gold rush, whatever you want to call it.
I think they call it the green rush.
Yeah, the green rush, and a chance for us to really create something unique and something very special in the hotel business where we can really connect people with all forms of cannabis usage, whether it's health, wellness, or just, liking how you feel.
I'm just
good
glad.
night's sleep.
Yeah, I'm just glad that you found something to direct all of your energy into because you're not an individual who's ever going to be able to retire. I know you keep claiming that
I know.
you're going
It's
to,
fun to
but
say
you're
it
not
though.
going
No,
to.
because it's fun to say because everybody you watch all the TV commercials, right?
Right.
What are you doing about retirement? Where's your money with your so everybody dreams of retirement.
That guy with the skinny jeans and the beard is very, very reassuring though on those commercials.
But it's something everybody dreams about.
Yeah.
But when you wake up from the dream, you go, no, I kind of like that challenge that I had every day that stimulated me, to be who we are.
Well, again, as two individuals that have achieved a lot of success in your lives, you can't just do nothing.
No,
you have to fill your days with something that motivates you.
Well, and you got to remember, Glenn, in the hotel business, we get to do a lot of great things.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to lose my perks, right?
Oh God, you don't want to lose the perks. Seriously,
so now
I've doubled squishy balls you could come away with from these conferences.
So think about the perks I have now. I now have the hospitality perks that we've enjoyed, and now I have the COACHILLIN perk on top of it. Yep. So life doesn't get much better.
No, it certainly doesn't. So you found your way into this universe, Kenny. So did you have any preconceived notions about cannabis coming into this, and how's your attitude changed if that's the case?
Well, I did. I had preconceived notions that it was just all about the high.
Well, yeah, I mean Nancy Reagan really told us how evil it all was, right?
It was devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
And then after talking to Michael, one of the first calls I made was to a group in Israel, Breath of Life, and learned that the day that it becomes federally legal in the U.S., they'll be filing for canna cures for 17 of the 34 known scleroses.
Wow.
ALS, MS, Parkinson's, epilepsy, autism in children, basically anything that makes you shake. They have Canacure.
Shake and bake. I got a new idea for a brand.
Yeah. I think that's been taken. Oh, sorry. Wah, wah.
I mean, it was mind blowing to me, and to learn,
sorry, Shake and Bake. Also, the themed parties we used to have in college on Friday nights when we were out of the buds. Wait, no, I didn't say that out loud either. Sorry.
Yeah. So the idea that there were real medical applications here just wasn't on my radar.
Right.
And then when I learned, at one of the doctors my son referred me to said, Kenny, I want you to understand that the day you were born, you have these endocannabinoid receptor systems in your body,
right,
that respond to one plant and one plant only. And he basically asked it from my point of view as a right wing conservative thinking guy, and he said, do you suppose God knew what he was doing when he made you? Did he make you wrong? And it made me think, it got to the spirit of the whole equation, is that, look, this plant's on the earth and our human bodies respond to only this plant. Follow the money. What's the problem? What happened? Mm-hmm. How did Big Pharma step in here and all of a sudden make cannabis a Control 1 substance?
Right.
And, it just so happens.
Yeah, and a lot of it also goes back to, believe it or not, like the newspaper days where William Randolph Hearst was fearing hemp paper because he owned forests and all of that kind of stuff.
You got it.
So, using the triggers of demonization of Mexican culture, for example, they were able to create the marijuana, the crazy weed, and all of that kind of stuff.
Lettuce.
Yes, and get people to think very negatively of it. It's amazing that generations bought into that. But I think as a response to the counterculture 60s and stuff, and it started to become more widespread, you start to see it creep up. As the more people that tried it, the more people realize that it isn't the devil's weed. I remember seeing that movie Reefer Madness, and the guy took a couple of tokes off of it and then went insane,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
And then I remember the I'll say the one time that I tried it in college. The worst thing that happened to me is I suddenly found myself eating too many Oreo cookies, right? And it quickly, once you stop buying into what the man was telling you, you realize that there's a whole other story to it. And it's really great that we're at the point now, I believe, that culture has come around to understanding there are medical benefits to this particular substance, and it's something that we've been ignoring, and it can help in so many facets of life. And man, Roger, you are patient zero for getting back an active lifestyle for somebody who is completely incapacitated.
Glenn, obviously you've known me my whole career, since we started Vantage. And Vantage was on a skyrocketing trajectory. And here I am, I can't get on an airplane, I can't get in a car, I can't move. And yet at the same time, I had to be on the phone. So I had to have my mental capacity, even though I didn't have my physical. And that was the nice thing about this. I wasn't inhibited by opioids. I wasn't inhibited by things that were going to make me feel different. So when I was on the phone talking to people, they didn't know I was hurt. They didn't know that I wasn't feeling good. So for me, that was the real key. And then as the industry evolved, the creams and the things like that, you could start traveling with it. And now that I go to conferences and it's come out that, I'm in the cannabis business, all of a sudden I have a lot of new people gathering around me that I never thought would gather. And so I'm learning and seeing that people are really coming out to explore this product. And every place Kenny and I go, it's like, can I get a room? When do you open?
Right.
I mean, Kenny and I can't decide whether we build 200 rooms or 2 million rooms. Right. I mean, it's that kind of craziness talk that we get.
Wow.
I mean, Kenny's getting calls from concert people saying, I can put 50,000 people on your property, for a concert venue. We have people that are part of sporting groups that are calling and saying, hey, will you guys do sporting events? I mean, so it's come into the mainstream where people think, okay, I can participate this without people looking at me sideways.
So speaking about coming into the mainstream, we're recording this interview in Las Vegas, and just last week, I believe, as we're sitting to record this, because for you guys listening, it's probably a few weeks after we recorded this, they just passed an ordinance about allowing lounges. Mm-hmm. That is very exciting, and now I see there's opportunities for you to go on one side to go buy some stuff, walk next door because they can't sell it on the physical premises, and then go and have a different type of experience. Do you think that is kind of the final frontier where we need to be with this kind of stuff, Kenny? And how are you looking at this overall issue and folding it back into the COACHILLIN business?
What we're doing is we believe a couple of models travel, and we graft, if you will, off of the craft brew model, where you go
smart.
You see craft breweries set up right next to Molson Coors. You see them set up right next to Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, and then those
thrive.
And
then get bought.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say. And it's going to be the same thing with this particular business. Already, the major companies are smelling opportunity, right?
Right. They are.
But you are here on the ground making it happen.
Right. And see, I believe there, like all industries, there's going to be some things that fall. I believe the current dispensary model nationwide crashes in the next 5 years.
Why?
Because when you have people like me in the 55 and older crowd, if I go in to buy a product, a cannabis product, or any kind of a medical product, I've been trained or brainwashed that it's got to feel like a CVS pharmacy or a Walgreens. The packaging needs to look a certain way. It needs to be presented to me in a certain way. And I choose where I go to get those products based on convenience. And the drugstores, the CVSs, the Walgreens, the Rite Aids, they've got a drugstore in every major corner of every major city in the country. They have the distribution that the dispensary world doesn't have. And people my age don't want to go in and feel like they're walking into a clandestine drug deal like a lot of the dispensaries feel. They're getting better. In California, there's been a tremendous improvement.
Yeah, I find some of the ones that I visited for strictly research purposes to understand the business. What I like about them is they have the bud tender there, and they really talk to you about stuff, kind of in the same way they would with craft beers and stuff like that. I like that whole experience because they demystify it, they normalize it, they don't make it feel weird. And if the business is operated smartly, and this is the direction you guys are going in, they really talk about the medical benefits, not just this is 78% THC and it's going to F you up, right? I had one friend, I don't know if I told you, we had this conversation when we did the podcast a few weeks ago, Roger, but he's having certain medical issues, and he went to a place in Colorado and had a great discussion, shared about what he thinks. He's like, if I just smoke regular stuff that I get a major headache. And they talked about it. They had a conversation. She made a recommendation. Then he was able to enjoy the cannabis. And you know what? His ailments went away, and he felt a lot better. So this is what we were talking about the entire time, Roger. It's all wellness focused. And it's hard. I think the hard part about the conversation, and we're joking around a lot on this about getting buzzed and whatever in our college days, but this is really a medical thing at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
You could get a buzz off of it, but with CBD being thrust into the limelight and the creams and the salves and all that stuff that you're talking about, it's really not about getting buzzed anymore. It's about being healthier and taking advantage of the cannabinoids that you were just talking about a minute ago, Kenny.
That's exactly right. And so what we're doing is we're creating we're creating a brand, the COACHILLIN brand. So our touring and education facility is our dispensary. You walk in, you have a doctor right there, can do scripts, whatever your ailments are, he can start guiding you in the right direction. We have a theater, a 20-seat theater. You watch a movie, all things cannabis, all things COACHILLIN. You then leave the theater and behind glass get to see a full grow. An aeroponics grow, a hydroponics grow, a potted plant grow, nitrogen canning, drying and curing, a micro extraction. You get to see it all behind glass. So it's you aren't interacting with the plant for many reasons. Then you land in the dispensary where you can partake or buy.
Yep.
Then you go upstairs, and our second floor is the Club COACHILLIN. And because we're a private club, we can stock liquor there because it's club members.
That's beautiful.
and it's private. And then they can partake upstairs. And
I'm already picturing you have somebody go, if you get this scotch, then you need to have this type of
there are cannabises that pair perfectly with a single malt scotch.
Yeah.
There you go.
Say that. So yes, we think that's a whole industry that's going to evolve. But we think that dispensary model survives versus the current dispensary model. And the reason we think it survives is because the craft brew houses have not only survived, they've thrived. And so that's kind of what it is. Come get a great meal. You have a tour. You know, all your friends get to see how this plant has grown, what's done to it. And then they can partake. And it's a drive-through, so we're attached to delivery services and all of
Room
that
service at the COACHILLIN Resort, of course.
Cool. Yeah. If you're just too lazy to walk across the street, you select it yourself. I like that. But I guess if you have a little too much indica, I can see why you might want to get a restocking.
You know, but the thing about this too is it gives you the opportunity to also enjoy people with like minds.
Right.
You know, we're building a 5,000 seat amphitheater for people to come and have concerts and outdoor events. So now all of a sudden you're around people that are enjoying the same type of lifestyle that you do.
Right. It's kind of the same idea to me as what Margaritaville has been doing so awesome, is tapping into a very particular lifestyle and making that emotional connection to them. You know, no surprise, I'm a big, fish head dude. I love going to their concerts because it's not just the music that I like, but the culture that surrounds it and the people that are there that I jive with. So to be able to go to a resort that I already know is predisposed to have like-minded people, I think it accentuates the whole experience, especially for those that don't want to isolate themselves alone in a room.
You know, something that really hit me last night, Kenny and I went to the reception for the design show over at the Neon Museum.
Right. What a cool place
It was really cool. And, here Kenny and I are baby boomers, right? But yet we were carrying on long, engaging conversations with millennials, and I don't think that would have happened. I was telling Kenny on the way home, I go, do you really think the millennial girls would have been talking to us if we weren't in the cannabis business? So it's brought us.
They saw what kind of car you drove up in.
Well, that part, see, they didn't see that part, right? But it's funny. We talked about that, how it's gone and translated through different generations, and quite frankly, brought us together.
Right.
Kenny was talking about his son before, and he and his son, we find ourselves going off to these events together, and quite frankly, enjoying each other's company. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that would have happened in a different, 10 years ago.
Right. And if for those of you that still don't get what we're doing, think psychographics versus demographics. Right. So it's a very particular mindset, and everybody's kind of more tuned into each other that way. And in case for you folks, just a little show note, if you don't know what the Neon Museum is, it's the place in Las Vegas where all the freaking awesome hotel signs go after they're no longer used or the property is destroyed. But I got to tell you, that place is so freaking awesome.
It is.
It is like such a walk down Old Vegas.
But think about that. So you could hold a private event there.
Right.
It's legal in Nevada. Mm-hmm. You could hold a private cannabis event there.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is you're not worried about your people pulling out with DUI issues, right? So it's changed that a lot too. I was in a club last night talking to a friend that ran it, and he said that the liquor sales through Las Vegas are down because people are making those substitutes. Why? We're here for a good time, right? Vegas is here for a good time. But probably the largest percentage are here on conventions, right?
Yeah.
They got to be at work the next morning. So if Kenny and I were out last night hammering, Jack Daniels, I don't know that we'd make this appointment this morning.
Agreed. And I feel the same way about too much alcohol, especially when I'm working. But I think there's another factor in it. I'm sorry, Las Vegas executives that listen to this podcast, but you charge too damn much for drinks.
Exactly.
And it's starting to become extremely obnoxious.
Right.
When I have to pay $18 for a basic cocktail at the Circle Bar in the middle of your casino, it starts to get offensive, especially when I'm buying drinks for three friends. Right?
Yeah.
One round, now I'm in for $80 plus.
Right.
How much am I really going to consume? I could go and buy a week's worth of cannabis for less than half the price of that one round of drinks.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you frame it in that kind of way, and I'm not trying to, associate any sort of social mores to it, but on a pure dollars and cents point of view, it makes a lot of sense, especially combined with the fact that you can go to sleep and wake up and kick ass the next day.
Yeah. And if you put CBD in there, you're going to feel even better.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Excellent. I think we're kind of coming to the end right now, but anything else that you guys want to share specifically about COACHILLIN? COACHILLIN. I know we spoke about it at the AHO event a couple of weeks ago, but I think for those that didn't listen to it, what are your plans? Where are you headed to? How is this all starting to come together to be reality?
Our incubator is out of the ground. We have 20-plus licensed cultivators and extractors operating now. We're building the first 9 greenhouses. They're all leased out. We plan on duplicating that with another incubator. By the end of this summer, I will have 9 buildings totaling about 300,000 square feet out of the ground. And so what we're really looking for always, you can go on COACHILLIN.com and follow us.
That's COACHILLIN.
Yeah, and we post our drone footage every 3 weeks so people can see the progress. And we have a really neat video on the COACHILLIN Facebook page that shows all the buildings that are in plan check. We built it in a gaming platform, so it's very 3D, nice quality.
Oh, cool.
It's really cool. And
when you first said gaming, I was thinking, casino, but then I realized you meant the other part.
No, it's that's my techie boy coming down from San Francisco and bringing all his connects to put a really neat part of the project together. We need cultivators. That's the big thing. Cultivators that want to survive the coming lower prices as everybody starts entering the business, including big pharma, big tobacco, big everything.
Right. So, any final thoughts, Roger?
I would tell you to take a look at YouTube. Kenny posts a video on YouTube. It's about a 9-minute video. It'll really open your eyes to what's going on in this industry, because people don't see it because it's, these projects are so big and they take so long, and they're typically in new markets. So a lot of people aren't seeing what's going on. But when you take a look at this, you'll really see the concept come to life. And I think you're going to look at it as, and I explain to people all the time in a short conversation, I'll say, look, think of the greatest wine tour you've ever been on in Italy or, Southern or Northern California, and trade the word, wine for cannabis. And I think they're going to find that they're going to really have that experiential travel that people are really looking forward to and enjoying.
I've always argued it's the same exact thing. I think now, culture and most Americans will finally agree.
Yeah.
It is exactly the same, except less hangover.
Yeah.
Right? So
there you go.
Maybe it's not the same thing. Maybe it's even better. But that's not for me to decide. That's for each and every one of you out there to make a choice. But realize, just because the government has been telling you this is the way it is, it isn't really that way. It's up to you to do the research to understand what the potential is for cannabis for you, for your health and the future. And I think there's a lot of business opportunities out there. And I got to be honest with you guys, I'm freaking jealous of what you're doing, because very rare in someone's lifetime does a whole new industry come to exist. And you guys are at the beginning of something that is going to transform our society, I think, in a positive way, not a negative way. And now all of you out there that are saying, oh, people are going to, well, you know what? People are always going to be like that. No matter what it is, there's a certain percentage of people that are going to be addicted, aren't going to be able to use it properly. That is not the fault of the other 99% of the population that deserves to have access to health and wellness, things that are going to make them feel a lot better.
Amen.
Right? All right. I think I summed that up nicely, which is absolutely shocking, because I am really freaking tired from being here in Las Vegas for all of these days. So if you haven't subscribed to the No Vacancy podcast or newsletters, be sure to find us on iTunes, at Google Play, and wherever your finer podcasts are found. Or if you're too lazy to do that, just text the word hotel to 66866. That's the word hotel to 66866. It'll ask you for your email, and you'll get our Sunday night newsletter for the No Vacancy show, for checking in with Anthony and Glenn, the design show, our tech show, our business of hotel shows, and hey, maybe we'll start a cannabis cannabis show as well.
I
so
like it.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back next time with another great interview, guys. This rocked.
Hey, thanks for having us.
See you guys later. So for Kenny, Roger, and myself, see you all next time.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.